I know how frustrating it can be when you spend hours comparing bead rollers online and still can't decide which one will actually do the job without wasting money. I've been there too, scrolling through specs, watching endless videos, and still feeling unsure whether the next purchase will end up gathering dust in the garage. If you're in that spot right now, this review is for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. This isn't one of those tools that looks good on paper but falls apart under real use. The Woodward Fab Professional Power Bead Roller is built specifically for people who need consistent, repeatable results when forming beads on sheet metal. Think custom body panels, hood scoops, or even small trailer fenders. It's not a hobbyist toy, it's a serious piece of shop equipment designed to handle daily use without constantly adjusting or fighting the tool. One thing that stood out to me is the 42-inch width. That's not just marketing, it gives you enough space to work on larger panels without having to constantly reposition the material. If you've ever tried to bead a long hood or a wide door skin on a smaller machine, you know how much of a headache that can be. The extra width means fewer seams, fewer overlaps, and a cleaner final product. That's the kind of detail that saves time and frustration, especially when you're trying to meet a deadline or match factory seams. Now, let's talk about the setup. This isn't a plug-and-play tool. You'll need to bolt it down to a sturdy workbench or a dedicated stand. Woodward doesn't include one, so factor that into your planning. The good news is that once it's mounted, the tool stays put. No wobbling, no shifting, and no need to constantly readjust the material as you work. That stability is crucial when you're trying to maintain consistent bead depth and spacing across a large panel. Speaking of beads, the tooling that comes with it is a solid starting point. You get a set of standard rollers that cover most common bead profiles, but if you're working on something specialized like a vintage car restoration or a one-off custom piece, you might find yourself needing additional tooling down the road. That's not a flaw in the tool itself, it's just the reality of working with sheet metal. The good news is that Woodward's tooling is widely available, so expanding your setup later won't be a hassle. One practical strength of this machine is how it handles thicker materials. If you've ever tried to bead 20 gauge or thicker steel on a lighter duty tool, you know it can be a struggle. The Professional Power Bead Roller is built to handle up to 16 gauge mild steel without bogging down or stalling. That's a big deal if you're working on anything structural or load-bearing, where bead integrity is critical. It's the kind of capability that separates a tool that's good enough from one that's actually up to the job. But it's not perfect for everyone. If you're only doing occasional small projects like patch panels or minor repairs, this might be overkill. A smaller, manual bead roller could do the job just fine and save you a ton of space and money. On the other hand, if you're running a shop or tackling big custom builds regularly, this tool will pay for itself quickly by cutting down on labor time and improving consistency. Another thing to consider is the learning curve. Even if you're experienced with metal fabrication, a power bead roller operates differently than a slip roll or a hammer and dolly. You'll need to practice on scrap material first to dial in your speed, pressure, and bead spacing. The good news is that once you get the hang of it, the tool does most of the work for you. It's not like trying to muscle a bead into place with hand tools. This thing actually pulls the metal into shape with minimal effort on your part. Where this tool really shines is in repeatability. If you're making multiple panels for the same project like a set of doors or fenders, you can set up the machine once, dial in your settings, and then replicate the same bead every time. That's a game changer when you're trying to maintain a factory-like finish or match existing panels. It's the kind of precision that's hard to achieve with hand tools, especially on larger pieces. Now, let's talk about the downsides. The biggest one is the noise. This isn't a quiet tool. It's powerful, it's mechanical, and it's going to make a racket when you're running it. If you're working in a shared space or a residential garage, you'll want to plan around that. Ear protection is a must, and you might need to schedule your work for times when noise isn't an issue for others. Another trade-off is the space it takes up. This isn't a tool you can just toss in.